Okay, good evening. Welcome everyone to our joint meeting with the City of Monroe. Mayor Kilgore and your town council members, welcome. We are happy to have you here tonight. I would like to call this joint meeting to order. And we will start with introductions, and we will start down at the end of the table with our board member from District 1.
I'm Candace Sturdivant, and I was elected to serve District 1.
I'm Matt Helms. I serve District 2.
I'm Dennis Rape, and I serve all of Union County.
I'm Leslie Boyd, and I too serve all of Union County.
I'm Joe Moriel, District 5.
Christina Helms, at large, so I serve all of Union County.
I'm Gary Sides. I represent District 3. I also serve as vice chair, and I'm a proud citizen of the City of Monroe.
And I'm Melissa Merrill. I was elected out of the Piedmont Porter Ridge Cluster, District 4.
Drew Houlihan, Superintendent.
Michelle Morris, General Counsel.
Larry Faison, City Manager, Monroe.
Bobby Kilgore, Mayor, and I would like to say also thank you for inviting us to this meeting. It's a pleasure to be here with you. We look forward to working with you.
Deborah Duncan, City Council.
Gary Anderson, City Council.
Ben Kazar, City Council. Freddie Gordon.
Just like this time, I'd like to call our board to order.
Okay, thank you, everyone. And I do want to welcome you again and just let you know when you want to speak, just press the button on your mic so that everyone can hear you because we are being watched from home, from viewers at home as well. So we want to make sure that everyone's able to hear. I need approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And we will begin plans to support identified schools.
So thank you, Madam Chair. So welcome to the City Council and to Mayor Kilgore. Thank you all for being here. We're pleased tonight to briefly go through a very kind of unique situation that I think that Union County Public Schools is in, and really wanted to make sure that the City of Monroe was very well aware of our plans and our strategies in moving forward to really address 6 of our neediest schools. 4 of whom reside right here in Monroe, 2 of whom are actually in the Forest Hills cluster. As I've come in as superintendent and done a massive look at our data and talked with our board, we've identified the fact that we need to do some things differently. And we've come to the realization that our neediest schools need additional resources. And our board has been very courageous about this and has been very supportive about this idea, and as part of our budget process has approved the redirection of funding to these 6 neediest schools. It's the first time, I believe, in our county's history that we've taken an action like this. And so for the public to know and for the city to know, we'd like to take a few minutes to really highlight what those strategies are going to be for next year, so that you're aware and so that as you're out in the public, you're certainly aware of being able to communicate our plan for improving our neediest and lowest performing schools. So research tells us that there are several factors when it comes to improving schools. Number 1 is expanding time. We know that often our poorest, neediest kids, they need more time in school. We also know that they need individualized learning support, intensive daily tutoring during the school day, and a lot more time for teacher professional development and for teacher collaboration. The state has identified 6 of our schools as low performing schools. These are 5 of the 6 have been deemed persistently low performing. That means they have been low performing for at least 3 years. 1 is in the first year. While the state uses an A to F ranking for accountability reasons, I often say, I always question that because I don't necessarily agree that a letter grade tells the whole story of what happens in a school. But with that said, that's what the public looks at. And we know that we're being held to a high standard from an accountability standpoint. We also know that in these 6 schools, we have got to give them more resources. And again, our board has committed to doing that for next year. So we're taking a 3-prong approach to really help these 6 schools. The first one looks at targeted, very specific targeted academic needs and academic outcomes. 2 of our schools, East Union and Monroe Middle, the principal at Monroe Middle is here today, Mr. Steve Ray. Thank you for being here. 2 of our schools, these 2 have applied for what the state calls a restart. They will go to the June Board of Education, State Board of Ed, and the June meeting, and then for approval in the July meeting. Basically what this means is when the state approves it, these 2 schools will have a lot more flexibility when it comes to things like hiring and teacher certification and recruitment, and really is a good model to get more flexibility. Part of our strategy is to provide these 6 schools math tutors next year. You're looking at, in the 4 elementary schools that we mentioned, each of those 4 schools would be allocated 3 to 4 math tutors. The middle schools would be allocated about 8 to 10. And they're going to target 4th and 7th grade math, because our data is telling us that that is where we need to put more resources. And that tutoring will not be after school. It will not just be on a Saturday or whenever. It will be every day for every kid in 4th and 7th grade. We're also pleased, you'll hear a little bit more about this, to really start to push at a K-12 vertical alignment around STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics in our Monroe schools. You'll hear a little bit more about Monroe Middle School in a few minutes. We've got the board has approved the partnership around a health sciences academy that we're going to get into more detail with you. But we really want to focus on the K-12 experience. So next year, Walter Bickett Elementary, Benton Heights, and East Elementary will all be equipped with outstanding technology and resources that they can be used to help with flexible seating and really more advances into the STEM world. Then when you connect that to Monroe Middle School and the Health Sciences Academy that you're going to hear a little bit more about, and then we've got a little bit of time to figure out what might we consider for Monroe High School in the future that might align to the STEM kind of health sciences world. That way, for our kids in our Monroe schools, they know exactly the kind of experience that they're going to have. They also can help with college and career planning, because a lot of our students across the county, they don't understand the kinds of jobs that are even available for them immediately after high school, or even coming back from a 2 or a 4 year, particularly in the health fields. And in the health fields is probably the top economic gap we have in terms of future jobs in this region. We've also announced a comprehensive effort to address literacy, particularly in grades K1 and 2 next year. Our board in May, at the May meeting, approved additional funding, state funding, that we can use to what I call level the playing field. So in all of our classrooms, K1 and 2 next year, we are going to be equipping our classrooms with a minimum of 600 book titles. That will really help with an equity issue to make sure that we don't have discrepancies in the quality and quantity of resources across the county schools. Monroe schools included in that as well. And finally, we are going to be opening a dual language program at East Elementary and at Walter Bickett. When I came here, one of the first observations I made was, I don't understand why we only have dual language programming in certain parts of the county. Why don't we have any dual language programs in the Monroe or the Forest Hills? And so we have 2 schools next year that will be opening up dual language, particularly for kindergarten. We'll start with kindergarten and build it 1 year at a time. But imagine what will happen when our kids, over the course of the next 5 to 6 years from these schools, will come out of elementary school proficient in a second language and truly bilingual from an academic standpoint. It will be a game changer for those communities and for those kids. The second kind of approach is around securing top talent. As part of our budget, our board has approved the additional funding to double the local supplement for our core teachers in these 6 schools as a recruitment and retention stipend. Currently, the teachers in these schools make $1,750 as part of a local high priority supplement. We are going to be doubling that. So that will be a $3,500 allotment instead of $1,750. I think we'd all agree we'd like to try to get that up to maybe $5,000 at some point, but this is a step in the right direction in terms of compensating teachers that are in our This approach is really addressing the fact that we know that you've got to have high quality, effective teachers and effective leaders in these schools. The third and final push is around student supports. I mentioned more time in school. What we've come to realize and where we have funding going to these 6 schools is to provide additional time in school. At the 2 middle schools, we're looking at plans to have our rising 6th graders come to these schools 2 to 3 weeks before the first day of school, and to give them a jump start into the culture of the school and into the expectations and into reading and math, and really get kind of a jump start on their education. That transition from 5th to 6th is often a very difficult transition. I'm not there yet as a parent. I'm close. Many of our colleagues, board members are, but we know that transitioning from 5th to 6th is a big step. So this will hopefully give our 6th graders next year kind of a jump start. At your schools that are elementary, 3 of the 4 are year-round schools. And one of the concerns that I have is they have what's called intersession. They'll go to school for 6 to 8 weeks, but then they'll have 2 or 3 weeks off. Well, what are the children doing during those 2 to 3 weeks off? I worry that we don't have funding to bring those identified kids back, provide transportation, and then tutor them, even when they are off of school. That, to me, is getting more to a true year-round, and our board has approved funding for us to do that. So next year, we'll be able to provide more time in school, both summer and intercession or after school for our neediest kids in across these 6 schools. College and career planning is a big push for next year across all schools, but particularly in our Monroe schools and Forest Hills. All of our schools will have access to a platform that we call Naviance, and all of our 8th graders will begin to have or develop personal graduation plans in the 8th grade for high school. This platform will also feed parents and students information regarding college scholarships, and will help them partner in terms of the best fit for your college going experience. Our board has seen this. If you'd like to get a demo, we can arrange that. It is one of the best platforms I've ever seen in terms of really helping our kids navigate not just high school, but college and career planning. The board has also approved a plan to provide additional needs in the form of social workers. That is one thing across our county that we are in desperate need of. Currently, UCPS has 3 social workers on staff and 3 child psychologists that are supposed to be supporting 53 schools. And if you've read the research or seen a lot of what's happening recently in the newspapers and in media, mental health and social emotional supports are a very big need, not just in this county, but across the nation. And so we've got a plan to ensure that we will provide 1 social worker position to all 4 of these elementary schools next fall. And they will only be dedicated to serving the families in those 4 schools. And 2 positions at each of the 2 middle schools. So you'll go from a team of 6 that support the county to a team of 8 that are dedicated to these 6 schools, which then frees up the other 6 to address the other needs of the county. It's a huge step in the right direction to really address some of the social emotional supports. Finally, social emotional training. We're going to be training the staff members of every school, not just these 6, every school in the Forest Hills and Monroe clusters on social emotional supports. So what do I do if I'm a teacher? How do I work with a child that's coming from trauma, or a child that's coming from an impoverished background, or a student that has some needs that are some difficulties, as opposed to saying, let's just write a referral and send them to the office. What can we do first at the classroom level? So that's going to be a massive amount of training that our teachers and staff members will go through. So I hope what you'll see here is we've described this three-pronged strategy, which is really designed to address the whole child. You have academics, you have effective and quality teaching and leadership, and then wraparound services on the back end. You know, I've said this before, this board has been relentless in supporting this. And I'm very thankful to them for their courageous leadership and for supporting this plan. It's the first time we've done something like this. And we really wanted, as a team, wanted you all to understand what we're doing, why we're doing it. And to me, this is an economic investment. We've got families that will relocate to Monroe and that will come here, and businesses. But we've got some work to do to improve our schools, and I realize that. That's a gap that we have. And I just want you all to know, and the public to know, this team is very committed to doing that. And we are very committed to making sure that we follow through with these efforts. So why don't I stop here for any comments from either city council or board, or questions that you might have, and then we'll get into Monroe Middle School, if that's okay. A demo on Naviance, we can set that up. I'll work directly with Larry on that, and we'll be glad to do that.
Well, I just want to say I'm very encouraged. This is just great. We're very pleased to be here and pleased to hear what you have to offer, and I'm just excited. So I'm looking forward to this.
Great.
I would like to say, echo that also. Thank you for stepping out, and to you and the school board for your plans and what you want to put forward and bring forward to our schools. You know, whatever we do, any little bit or a whole lot is a great help. This sounds like a whole lot, but it's going to take a while to put it together. We know it's not going to come together in the first year, but we'll see a lot of change in that first year. So I'm real pleased to see that we are making plans to move ahead. And I appreciate the board and you folks is doing this.
I too salute the board on this giant step. It's a great initiative. And it's took a lot of folks around the world to go great.
So to continue, we also wanted to update the city council on where we are with Monroe Middle School. Monroe Middle School, for the past few years, has been rated as a quote-unquote F school by the state. It's one of those persistently low-performing schools. And you heard me say my opinions on letter grades, and I won't get on my soapbox about that. If you've not been to Monroe Middle School, I'd encourage you to go. It is a fantastic place. We have work to do there. We all recognize that, but they are really on the up and up in terms of the trajectory of the student performance there. We approached Carolina's Healthcare, and Mike Lutz is here, president of Carolina's Healthcare Union, and I'm going to offer him the floor in a few minutes to say a few words about starting an innovative health sciences academy at Monroe Middle School to really get at an engagement and a reason for our middle school students to want to come to school. This is something that I started in Houston in partnership with Baylor College of Medicine. It is a reputable model, a great deal of success. Several of our board members went with me to see it in action, and as did the principal in Carolina's Healthcare, and we are extremely excited about this for next year. This will be another, you heard me use the word game changer. This will be a new day for our Monroe Middle School kids. And basically the concept is beginning next year in 6th grade, all of our 6th graders will be taking an integrated health sciences class that's focused on neuroscience. It will be one of their electives. They'll also be taking a course called Medical Spanish, which will introduce them to medical terminology in Spanish to build comprehension around vocabulary. Now, our medical Spanish class is currently offered at a high school. This will be the first middle school that this is offered. And the high school teacher is working with our staff on the curriculum. We don't have to go through a state approval process. We're excited about this. And if you think about how this will happen over the course of the next 5-6 years. When kids come to middle school eventually at Monroe and they're already bilingual and proficient, they'll take this class to a whole new level. We've also talked with the hospital about internships, that students at Monroe Middle School will have the chance to have internships with the hospital system. And Carolina's Healthcare has come to us and said, we will provide a full-time STEM specialist. We'll pay for it. And that will be an employee of the hospital, but will be dedicated to the school. We'll have an office at the school and will really be used to help. There'll be training staff working on being the liaison between the hospital staff and the school. They'll be working over the course of time to not just say, well, we have a medical Spanish and a health sciences class, that's what we do. No, we want to get to the point over the next 3 years where this is an integrated model, where it doesn't matter if you're an English teacher, math teacher, science teacher. The focus and the culture here is on preparing our kids for college and career in the health sciences industry. When they get to 7th and 8th grade, they'll have other courses that they'll have options to take, but there will be a 3-year track of health sciences related, STEM related courses with complete integration with Carolina's Healthcare. Our board, as part of our budget, has approved a $1.9 million allocation for just capital improvements here, looking at classroom renovations, STEM lab renovations, mostly interior work that needs to be done to, again, send the signal to Monroe Middle School kids and to families, we're serious about this. And the learning environment is critically important to do something successfully. We've had a lot of parent and student communication already. We've developed flyers. Mr. Ray did a presentation at his Rising Red Hawk Night, which was jam-packed full of kids. He has had nothing but positive comments and feedback on this. Our Union County Education Foundation has sponsored a promotional video to really educate the community as to what this is all about. And what's also interesting is, Mr. Ray can tell you, the other students that are going to be in 7th and 8th grade next year, they're kind of looking at us saying, I know the focus is on 6th grade, but what about us? Don't leave us out. Mr. Ray has introduced a course called Medical Detectives for his 7th and 8th graders next year. Is it 7th grade, Mr. Ray, or just 8th? 7th and 8th. Of the 300 kids that would be eligible for that course, that could sign up for that course, almost 280 have expressed an interest in taking that CTE health sciences related course, brand new course. It just shows you that children, particularly in middle school, and particularly when you talk to them about college and career and the health field and STEM and project-based learning, they want to jump all over it. And so this, again, is going to be a monumental piece for Monroe Middle School. And we're very, very excited about the partnership with Carolina's Healthcare. This will be an innovative school that doesn't exist anywhere else in the county. I'd like to invite Mike Lutz to the podium if you'd like to say a few words, because I know he'd like to express, and so the city and our board, again, understands their commitment from a health industry perspective.
No, we are absolutely excited about this opportunity. You know, when you think about clinical and operational expertise, which is really what Carolina's healthcare system is known for, it just makes sense that we transition that into an education. We're so excited about this partnership. I think it's important when you realize the expertise and resources that we'll bring. We already work with 2 colleges of health sciences, one in Charlotte, one in Cabarrus County. We have a close relationship with the UNC School of Medicine. We train hundreds of residents, including here in Monroe, as well as across Charlotte each and every year. So we have a solid foundation already in medical education. And we are so excited about this opportunity. I was so impressed with when we went to Houston and toured the schools. Myself and a couple of colleagues from Carolinas went and toured those schools, and it's absolutely something that we want to be part of. To me, education is really about opening doors to future opportunities. And I can't think of a better opportunity of opening the door to healthcare jobs in the future than this partnership. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. To me, this is truly a gift to these students. It's a wonderful thing for the city of Monroe because I think it gives us the opportunity, quite honestly, it's a great thing for Carolina's healthcare system because we're looking at this from a workforce development standpoint. It's a big investment. We may not get a return on this investment for 10, 12 years down the path, but we have significant workforce development needs now. And I can guarantee we're going to have even more 10 or 12 years from now. Have high-paying jobs in healthcare, which is the fastest growing sector in the U.S. economy. Actually, there's more healthcare jobs and manufacturing jobs in our country, and that we're going to give the students the opportunity to stay in their local communities and work is wonderful. So that's why I'm so excited. To me, you always want to be a partner in things where everybody wins. I truly see this as a win-win-win opportunity. So I want to thank Dr. Houlihan for his leadership and bringing this together. We're awfully excited.
Thank you, Mike. It's again, go talk to the students at Monroe Middle School. They're very excited as well. So that's it. We'll kind of open it up for discussion, additional questions. And, Mr. Reyes here, the principal, if you have a question for him. That's kind of the presentation. So we'll open the floor.
Well, I'd like to add that as Dr. Houlihan, when I went with a couple colleagues to view this, and these children that were accepted in that school, they weren't gifted, they were just regular kids, and they were, I pretty much think I met an 8th grader that's probably smarter than me. And they all talked about neuroscience as being their favorite class in 6th grade. I mean, who knew? And the way they talked about the brain and eyeballs and just the interaction, and it really, and then because one of the other questions that I think I've heard people say, well, what if the kids don't want to go into science? I know that's probably a burning question, but we met a senior that had gone through the entire program, and he said, I think I'm going to major in art in college. He said, but the rigor and what he learned through life and doing anything he wants. So regardless of him not going to medical school, he said all of those tools will help him learn how to learn and be successful. So I think that's important to note, that we're offering a different way of learning and things that the kids can take with them, even if it's not something they end up doing. So just kind of keep that in mind. And the second thing, I've had people outside of the Monroe cluster coming to me and saying, can we go there? Can we? And I said, right now it's just Monroe. Maybe you can move to Monroe. So I think that it's actually going to be a great economic stimulus, as well as the first and foremost is to help the children. But I think it's going to be a win-win. So thank you.
I also had the opportunity to accompany the UCPS troop over to Houston. Ms. Boyd, as she mentioned, and Ms. Helms also attended. And to have the opportunity to go through and see it on a middle school and then on the high school level, to really envision it through its fruition into high school. And like Ms. Boyd said, I ran into a kid, he didn't want to go into art, but he wanted to go into engineering. The being exposed to this rigorous curriculum spurred them onward. And some had scholarships to Ivy League schools, not even in the healthcare field, but they were well prepared. I think this is an unprecedented opportunity for UCPS, for the city of Monroe, for our hospital to do something that is a trailblazer in the state of North Carolina. And I am very excited. I want to thank all the staff that's been involved in bringing this to fruition. And I am very excited about the fall of 2017 and starting their first semester at Monroe Middle, and then watching it follow up and matriculate up all the way up through Monroe High School. Something very special.
Dr. Houlihan, can you touch, I know that we're in the kind of infant stage of getting this off the ground, but what are the plans to go into high school? Because right now we're only discussing middle school so that these children aren't left on a cliff after 8th grade year. What's going to happen when they go up to the high school as a freshman?
So good question. Right now, and I've met with the the principals of the Monroe cluster, including Dr. Harvey at Monroe High School. Even next year, Dr. Harvey is going to be offering courses that are related to the health sciences industry. He hasn't been offering those. They will be offered next year. It's a step in the right direction because, as Ms. Helms said, we can't have a situation in 3 years, the fall of 2020, where you've gone through this 3-year experience at the middle school and then you get to high school and there's no continuation. So we're beginning that even next year. Personally, what I'd love to see in 3 years from now is the health sciences academies of Monroe High School as well, or however we want to brand that. But really looking at college and career pathways that permeate the entire healthcare industry and saying to kids, if you're interested, not saying you're forced to, but given the wide range of jobs and college opportunities that will be available for you, and aligning those career pathways and college pathways at the high school level, that to me is something we're very much interested in. But we have 3 years to do that because we're starting with 6th grade next year, then 7th, then 8th. So by the fall of 2020 is when your next year's 6th graders will be in high school. And that will kind of be the year that we're looking at really doing some transformative work. My point though is we're not really just waiting till then. We're beginning that process a little bit now.
These health courses, they'll be electives.
There'll be electives.
I can tell, Dr. Houlihan, from the first time we met that you guys have done a lot of work. It's exciting. I can look at the school board members and see that y'all bought into it. That's exciting, and we on the city council, I'm sure, are looking forward to being a part of it.
Yeah, I'd like to say also, thank you, Mr. Michael Lutz and Carolina Health Center for stepping up. You always step up when we need you and to the school board. I see the excitement in you folks' face, and you've taught a voice also. I think it's great that we can all get together and put a plan together and work the plan, and a few years down the road see the results. So thank y'all for what you're doing, and Carolina Health Center, thank you.
It's like a beautiful collaboration. Education should be interested in society and prepare kids for the future. We do it, and hopefully doing these collaborations to make it happen.
Well, I'd just like to give a special thank you to Mr. Sides and Mrs. Boyd, because when we worked on setting up this meeting, y'all were so professional to work with, and we were all so excited about it. And I think that is something that is a new step for Monroe going forward, for the two boards to be excited about working together and supporting each other, because the reality is everybody in this room has a vested interest in seeing our city schools do well. Just on a personal note, I know Dr. Houlihan mentioned the letter grades and sometimes the stigma that come with those letter grades for our schools. Those letter grades don't tell the true story. They really don't. I have a very good friend that is a high-ranking official with the city of Monroe. Both of his boys went to Monroe Middle School. They're now at Monroe High School. You could not take those boys away from Monroe High School. If you offered them to go to any other school in the county, they would say, no, we're happy where we are. They love the teachers. They love the administrators. They love their peers. They're involved with sports. Again, and I'm not going to put any specific names out there, but I can tell you these people are very actively involved with our community, and they would be the first to raise a concern if they felt like there was a concern, but there's not. They feel like their boys are safe. They feel like they are getting a great education, and their boys have nothing but good things to say about Monroe Middle and Monroe High School. And I think that's a prime example of how there's so many good things going on at these schools. And I just like to say, going forward, I'd like for all of us in this room to just promote the positive things that we see in these schools, because a lot of positive things happen, and unfortunately sometimes we don't promote it enough. We don't toot our own horn enough as far as the good things that are happening in these schools. And again, I thank Dr. Houlihan for his leadership, and I thank you all for truly making us feel welcome tonight. And I can say you have a city council that is 100% behind supporting our city schools.
I would like to say something to the few of us in here elected officials that are involved in the Social Security drawing process now, although most of you are young. But when I taught at the Career Center, I taught construction trades. Some of my students went into construction, but some of them are in law enforcement. And I really enjoy seeing the kids that have come through my classes. In fact, I've been stopped a couple of times and they said, Mr. Rape, you really need to slow down. You're retired. You got a lot of time to get there now. And it makes me proud to see them in law enforcement. And it also excites me that possibly 10 years down the road, they will be young adults at Carolina's Healthcare that I may cross their path and be able to say, you know, I was part of that board that started the Health Academy, and, you know, maybe they'll take a little better care of me. And, but I'm sure the quality of care over there, but it's just exciting. I love to see people achieve as much as they can. And I think that's what this whole thing is about. And I would like to, I go back to a meeting about a year ago with the Chamber of Commerce. Mayor Kilgore said, I've offered help for 22 years and we've never been called. I'm glad we called you. We're glad you came, and we're going to do the best job we can. Thank you.
Well, I'll answer that. Yeah, I do draw my Social Security. I only got one check though. But I recall talking with you that, so it's come around 360. So I'm glad that it has. And I'm in some of these schools. I don't want to say in and out because I'm not there every day, but I go in occasionally and do some reading in some of them. I've been to Cattle a good many times, and we got nice schools. We got clean schools. We got good teachers. We got good educators. We've got everything we need to move forward, and we got a good plan here. And again, I thank you folks for what you do, stepping up. A lot of folks behind the scene that's not sitting here tonight has got their hands into this work, and I want to thank those folks also. So it's just great to be here tonight with you. Thank you for inviting us out, and certainly we're going to support this all we can.
Okay, if we don't have any more questions or comments, we are at the end of our agenda for tonight. We can have some board comments, no more questions. Okay, then I think we're ready to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you, everyone.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Have a motion to have a second. All in favor? We adjourn.